And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
The United States is a representative democracy, and like any democracy, it grants rights, but also requires responsibility. We have an obligation to participate and to actively engage in our society. Active citizenship, when combined with a common endeavor, can be used to unify this great nation. Unfortunately, we are currently facing a major threat, ourselves. The United States is rapidly splitting into polarized factions. Liberals versus conservatives, the so-called 1% versus the 99%, whites versus minorities. This unfortunately promotes animosity and divisions between the different Americas. Due to our differences, we are no longer able to work together for a common goal. The racial divide is most obvious in the movement patterns of minorities into suburbs and the Caucasian response's migration. A new form of white flight, where Caucasian families self-segregate when minority families leave the cities and settle into the suburbs, is beginning to take effect, similar to how Caucasians once fled the cities for the suburbs during the 1950s and 60s. Although race relations have long been an issue in the United States, they have worsened as of late. The growing ideological divide in America is highlighted in the dramatic decline of purple counties and the evolution of the landslide county. In the 2016 presidential election, less than 10% of all the 3,113 counties were won by a single-digit margin. In contrast, over 1,000 counties fit that description in 1992, showing that the areas in which people live in are growingly becoming more partisan over time. Negative feelings about the opposing party are as powerful, and in many cases more powerful, than the positive feeling about one's own party. This distrust and partisan antipathy are both the cause and effect of this ideological segregation. People move away from those they both disagree and dislike, which reinforces their prejudices, guaranteeing that the future generation will not have exposure to other political beliefs and ideals. Evidently, the social fabric of this country is being torn apart. The only solution is counteracting this self-segregation and creating an institution that promotes dialogue among these polarized factions. This is only possible through a program of universal civilian service. By requiring the citizens of the United States to devote 1 or more years of their lives for their country, it can eliminate the self-imposed isolation, as members are exposed to new perspectives. The current system of national service, AmeriCorps, is one of the few institutions that throws together Americans from varied backgrounds and provides them with the experience of working across racial, ethnic, and class lines to solve common problems. Not only does this provide a task force that can be used to work on anything from disaster relief to infrastructure, it will overcome the tension and animosity tearing our nation apart. And despite the dwindling social trust, young Americans still have the desire to help their communities. In a 2010 Pew Research Center survey, nearly 60% of millennials reported to have volunteered in the past 6 months, and 71% identified meaningful work as one of the most important factors in a successful career. Unfortunately, the demand for service far exceeds available opportunities. AmeriCorps had nearly 600,000 applicants for only 80,000 slots in 2011. Young people covet a means to serve their country, but there aren't enough options. However, if a program of universal civilian service were implemented, there would be endless opportunity to help our country. Although young Americans should be the primary target of national service, retired Americans, veterans reintegrating into civilian life, or anyone who has the desire to do more for their community should also have the opportunity to do so. The elite, the so-called 1%, the Silicon Valley tycoons, and their children should not be exempt from this program of national service. Cultivating a culture of service in the United States will be challenging, but if employers and colleges give preferences to those who have served, if the media highlights their accomplishments, it can be done. An institution to organize and fund the costs of such a program is not enough. A change in the societal expectations of citizenship that redefines it as more than paying taxes and voting is necessary. Without such a program, Americans will continue to struggle with the notion that we are all inevitably linked through an indestructible bond The time to revitalize America's national unity is now.